Hey, what's going on, guys? J Klein Anime Talk here, and today we're here to talk about My Hero Academia chapter 304, and in this chapter we found out the dark secret behind the quirk One For All. Deku finally meets all the past users of One For All. Well, sorta, because two had their back turned, but we will get to that. So guys, before we start this review, yes, I will be doing My Hero Academia content weekly from now on, and if you want to see more, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Now, let's get right into this chapter. So, this chapter begins with Deku wakes up in the Vestige world, seeing all the previous users of One For All. However, the second and the third holder of One For All, they have their backs turned, and I think this is Horikoshi just trolling the fans because we all know that the second looks so much like Bakugo from the back. And I know that this is one of the most popular fan theories that the second One For All user is Bakugo from the future, but technically the past on some future Trunks type beat, which I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to time traveling in any series, even though Steins Gate is one of my favorite series and the series is about time traveling, which is funny. However, I do not want to say this is Bakugo or this isn't Bakugo because the similarities are there. The hairstyle, the gauntlets, everything about this character from the back looks similar to Bakugo. However, this is probably just Horikoshi's art design because there are certain characters in the story that look like Bakugo. For example, when Muscular first showed up in the manga, people thought that this was Bakugo's possible dad because he showed up and told Deku that the League needs him, whereas Bakugo. But that theory got debunked a long time ago, so this could just be a character that looks similar to Bakugo, and I'm more comfortable of saying that. Many people believe that the third user is Kirishima from a different timeline as well, which that one, I want to rule it out, but I don't think that is the case with this one, but who knows what Horikoshi might do. Now, upon Deku arriving in this Vestige world, the first user of One For All tells him in the beginning, they were only able to interact with him when he was mentally shaken, which is a good callback in a battle against Shinso during the UA Sports Festival. He explains to Deku in the last 4 months, One For All has been growing exponentially. And with that increase of capabilities, profiles of the previous users has been copy and paste. And over time, we have been able to communicate with one another. So the stronger that Deku has been getting, the more that the previous users and his consciousness has been able to interact with all the other previous One For All users. The first also explains that during his last previous encounter with his brother, trying to force himself inside our domain, it became easier for us to communicate after that. However, Lariat gives Deku clarity that you're not being watched all the time. Your privacy is safe, so don't worry about it. But still, for Deku in this Vestige world, he still cannot speak, but he can make a sound. But the fourth user of One For All approaches him and tells him that he will do the talking. He introduced himself saying that he is Shinomori Hikage and that he is the fourth user of One For All. And your previous fight brought forth my power through your will, which he is talking about danger sense. He explains to Deku, when you activated the quirk, you scared me there. I was alerted to be alert to your alertness manifesting. Who would have thought the fourth Shinomori was such a wordsmith? We see that Lariat is making fun of Shinomori, saying that he's just a weirdo hermit who lives in the woods outside of society, and you see that there's a funny interaction between them two, even though it makes sense why these two are so close because Shinomori is the one that passed Lariat the quirk One For All, so it makes sense why they are friends. And we do see Lariat using his Black Whip quirk, trying to hit Shinomori, but Shinomori is dodging it with his Danger Sense, which I'm very excited. I cannot wait to see how Deku will utilize Danger Sense because it looks very cool. But this is when things started getting serious because Shinomori asks Deku, do you know my cause of death? However, the only information that Deku knows from All Might was that Shinomori was 40. He remembers from the files that All Might gave him Shinomori's cause of death was scribbled out. But Shinomori tells him that it was due to old age. Deku was confused by this because 40 years old should not be a reason why someone died of old age because 40 years old is not old. Shinomori was telling Deku that him and Lariat were talking about it amongst each other, trying to figure out this problem, and through All Might, they came to a conclusion. One For All can no longer be held by a regular person. Besides All Might, Shinomori had the quirk longer than anyone else. For 18 long years, he was avoiding All For One, isolated himself to train the quirk to its fullest potential. With this in mind, Shinomori realized that with this phenomenal power, it's still not enough to beat All For One in this state. So for those 18 years, he nurtured the power so that when he passed it on, it can be stronger and maybe the next person after him have the power to stop All For One. However, during his final year, the quirk broke down his body, which he does lift his hair to show the scar, which is an indication of what has happened to his body, which are the signs to his death. At first, he thought that his body just wasn't compatible with the quirk, and he thought that his body was weak or that he had some kind of disease. But with the existence of All Might, it confirmed a lot of suspicion for him. He learns that holding the Quirk One For All slowly burns away the life force of the user. However, Deku is so confused by this because he addressed the fact that All Might had the quirk way longer than Shinomori, because All Might is 49 years old. Which is a good point, because if that was the case for All Might should have died many years ago before he even met Deku. The first responds saying that he thought that there were just a certain limitation depending on the user, and there were just a certain invisible time limit depending on the person. However, the first couldn't compare his life situation to All Might because he died and didn't have the One For All quirk that long. So this confirms the theories of Shinomori that he found through All Might. All Might has something that Shinomori didn't, which was nothing at all. All Might was born quirkless. They found out this conclusion because since All Might is still alive today, all the information that he learns, and it goes to his subconscious that is still in the Vestige world, it relays back to them. The first believe that this also confirms what his brother been trying to tell him. The idea that a portion of the quirk's user's conscious pre-mates within a new user makes us all wonder how and why elements of All Might is here despite him being quirkless. This is the reason why All For One explains that through many years, all the quirks that he has stolen from everyone, he found himself in a unique position where he's able to interact with the people of the quirks he stole from in his consciousness. However, All Might is also in a unique position as well because, without even realizing it, he has been able to summon their consciousness without realizing it. All Might had this One For All quirk for 40 plus years. First user of One For All makes a perfect analogy of this. Those who are born with quirks already have their cups filled. Adding One For All to a cup that's already filled make the cup spilled over or even crack. However, in All Might's case, since he was born quirkless, his cup was already empty. So adding the quirk One For All to All Might, in a sense, it becomes his true quirk. Knowing that this quirk, how it operates, this is a quirk that stockpiles over time, passing on to the user and to the next user. And of course, by the time when All Might has it, this quirk is already stockpiled to its highest degree, and All Might, since he already had an empty cup, this gives him the ability to stockpile this power even further without his cup being spilled over or cracking. This is why All Might was just the greatest. Which comes to conclusion, someone inheriting this power who was born quirkless has the most potential with this power. Which means that if All Might was to give the quirk to Mirio would not live for a long time. If All Might was to give this quirk to Shoto, given the fact that Shoto is a hybrid with 2 quirk factors, he'll be lucky to reach the age of 30. Deku now knows the responsibility and the risk of passing this quirk along to someone else. They have to be quirkless, but the probability of someone being born quirkless in this day and age is very slim. They believe if they would have came to this conclusion many years ago, they could have prevented a certain death, which is a hint at Sir Night-Eye. Lariat tells Deku, in other words, you may be the last successor of One For All. So with all this info dump that we learned about One For All in just one chapter, the conversation started to change soon as Shimura Nana started to talk. She explains, let's get to the main topic at hand, and asks Deku, are you able to kill Shigaraki Tomura for me? And that is how this chapter ended. I gotta say that I am extremely shocked because at the end of the day, Tomura is her grandson, so for her to say that out loud, and that'll be the first word she say at the end of this chapter, I'm very stunned in how bold that she just addressed that to Deku, because we're not sure if Deku is able to kill somebody. That is a huge deal. I'm just extremely shocked to hear that from her, but I'm excited to see what's to come in the future of the story of my hero, especially next chapter. But I'm extremely shocked that you probably watched this entire video and didn't subscribe yet. Notification bell is on. Yeah, that button right there. Yeah, I got you. You guys have an awesome life. Take care of yourselves. Stay blessed. And I'm out.